Welcome back to the Bonfire Slenderman tutorial series. In the last video, we enhanced our game with custom 3D models and audio, bringing our eerie world to life. Today, we're diving deeper into the core gameplay mechanics by adding behaviors and config sparks. I'll show you how to define custom behavior logic to make Slenderman and other entities interact with the player in unpredictable and terrifying ways. To start things off, let's turn up the sun brightness to make editing a little easier. Now let's set up the flashlight, which will trigger the game to start when the player picks it up. Select the flashlight in the map, go to the Traits tab and check the Is Grabbable option. Now the flashlight can be picked up by pressing the R key. Let's hit play and grab the flashlight. Great. But you'll notice the light doesn't follow the flashlight. To fix this, select the light source, go to the Behaviors tab, and add an Attach On effect. Then, select the flashlight, add a grabbed cause, and connect the Attach On effect to the grabbed cause. Set the Attach On parent into flashlight. Set the position to Y0.5 and check the one shot on the flashlight. Let's hit play again and see the magic happen. Awesome! The light now follows the flashlight's position. Now, let's set up our state machines. A state machine spark helps track different states or conditions of objects in the game. To add a state machine, go to the Sparks folder, then open the Configs folder, and drag and drop the state machine into the Configs tab. Select the state machine and change the instance name to Game State. I'll go ahead and add 2 more state machines named Timer State and Light State. Perfect. We'll be using these state machines throughout the tutorial. Similar to state machines, let's add 3 datum sparks. A datum represents a piece of data, like a variable that can be stored, retrieved, and manipulated. I'll rename them to battery datum, timer datum, and page datum. Perfect. Now let's add a game timer to the HUD. Go to the HUD editor and select the default HUD from the dropdown. Next, go to Sparks, then Symbols, and drag the text spark into the default HUD. Change the text to time and add a datum viewer. In the Config tab, select the timer datum. Now head over to the Behaviors tab and add an updated cause and an add value effect, and set the value to 1. Next, select the datum viewer and add an update effect. Connect the datum updated and datum viewer update. Finally, select the timer state, add a go to state effect, an if state is effect, and an on state effect. Set their state IDs to 1. Connect the on state and if state, then connect the add value and add a delay modifier. Set the delay to 1 second and connect it to the if state to make a loop. Lastly, connect the timer's go to state to the flashlight's grabbed behavior, and we're done. If it is confusing, this is what the behavior looks like. Now set the position and font size and of the datum viewer and timer text. Perfect. Next on the list is the inventory system. Go to the Config folder and add the Inventory Spark to the Configs tab. Then go to the Symbols folder and drag the Inventory Viewer Spark into the default HUD in the HUD editor. To make the inventory system work, select the Inventory in the Config tab, add an Add effect and a Changed cause. Connect the Add effect to the flashlight's grabbed behavior. Just like with the datum, we need to update the text for the inventory viewer, so select it and add an update effect. Perfect. Let's hit play and grab the flashlight to see the timer running and the inventory system. Awesome! For the flashlight battery, the setup is similar to the timer, but we'll use the game state and battery datum. Instead of adding a value, we'll subtract a value from 100. Pause the video here to review the flashlight battery setup. Lastly, add a set value and set the value to 100. Next, Let's add the pages around the map. For each page, we'll add them to the inventory, just like the flashlight. To track the remaining pages, we'll use the page datum. Set the initial value to 5 and connect it to a chapter started modifier. For every page collected, subtract 1 from the page datum. Don't forget to check the is interacted option for each page and hide them once collected. This is what it should look like. Let's hit play and collect some pages. Great, everything is coming along nicely. Now for the scary part. Let's add our custom Spark Slenderman to the game. Go to the My Spark, Slenderman Sparks folder and find the newly created Slenderman Spark. Oops, it looks like the scale is too big. Let's adjust the scale to 0.5. Now that we have our main antagonist, let's set up the jump scares and movement. Position Slenderman around the map. I'll duplicate him a few times and add triggers to make him pop up. This will give us some truly terrifying jump scares. All right, to make it simple, we want Slenderman to appear briefly and then disappear. Go ahead and search for a spark named Trigger, drag and drop it in front of Slenderman. Then select Slenderman and add a Modify effect. Set the trait to Is Visible and check the value. Then select the trigger and add a collided cause. Now, add a delay modifier and set your desired value. And after that, duplicate the modify and uncheck the value. Don't forget to uncheck the Is Visible trait in Slenderman. This creates a sudden appearance and disappearance that's sure to startle the player. Next, let's add some eerie audio to make it even more terrifying. Select Slenderman and add a collided cause. Then find the audio file we sparkified last video. Let's test it out. Now, let's add a game over message when the player gets caught by Slenderman. Open the HUD editor and create a new text element that says, "You died." For now, uncheck the Is Visible option so it doesn't show up immediately. Then add a visible effect and a 3 seconds delay modifier to make the screen go dark. Add a 3 seconds blackout modifier and display the text when Slenderman catches the player. It'll really drive home that sense of dread. Lastly, we need a way for the player to restart after they die. Let's set up a respawn point. Go to the Sparks menu, then Environment, and drag a portal to the starting location of the game. Add a teleport effect to the respawn point and set the destination to itself. This way, when the player respawns, they'll go back to the beginning. Let's give it a try and see how it all comes together. Great! In addition to this tutorial, we can add some flickering lights when Slenderman appears. To do that, select the possible lights that will flicker close to Slenderman. I'll not go any further details in the behavior, but you can copy this behavior and add it to your game. To finish up the tutorial, let's create a winning condition for our game. First, locate the page datum in the Configs tab. Next, add an updated cause to it. This will allow us to track changes to the page count. Now we'll add an if is equal to value effect. Set the value to 0. What this does is, once the player collects all the pages and the page datum reaches 0, it will automatically trigger the ending chapter. For the ending chapter, add a Change Chapter modifier. Go to the Chapters tab and add a new chapter. Then, go back to the Behavior tab. In the Change chapter, select the new chapter. Feel free to get creative here. This is your chance to add a unique twist to the game's ending. Maybe the player gets rescued, or they face a final showdown with Slenderman. It's up to you to decide how the story concludes. Before we end, let's change the player's perspective to first person for a more immersive experience. To do this, go to the top center of the builder and click on the book name. From the drop-down, select Default Camera and switch it to first person. And that's it. You've successfully created a Slenderman game from start to finish. I'm really glad you made it this far. I hope you enjoyed the process and learned a lot. Thanks for following along, and happy game making.